This conference will now be recorded.
See, till now, what we have done, we have seen what is a configuration file, what is a flow, and what is a project, how project looks. Okay, what is the project structure? All these things are already discussed, and we have seen like how to extract URI params and query params from a Mule event. Okay, and how to extract payload. Okay, with the help of simple keywords like payload, and if it is URI params attributes dot URI params, if it is params dot key name, and if it is query params, obviously attributes dot query params dot key name, exactly, to extract. And if you write message dot also, obviously it understands. Without message also it will understand. Okay, that's what we have seen. Now I just wanted to introduce you new topics today. Exactly, like I told you, we have flows, exactly. Okay, but there are some types of flows in it. Okay, we will see that types of flows. And within a project, exactly what happens is we'll have multiple flows. Now there will be an instance where I need to call one flow from the another flow. Okay, call means what exactly? I want to use the same logic and I want to call that. For that, we'll be using a flow reference component. Okay, that will be discussed in detail today. Okay, and what are all the types of flows? We have three types of flows: main flow, we can call it as main flow, public flow, or flow, and another type of flow called private flow and subflow. Okay, we can call this as flow, main flow, and public flow also. Okay, and we'll see in detail what is a main flow. Okay, already whatever we are seeing, that is main flow only, but we'll see exactly again what happens in a main flow owner, and what happens in a subflow, and what happens in a private flow, and what is the scope of payload, attributes, variables in flows, exactly, while calling the flow reference. While calling the flows with flow reference, what is the scope of these payload, attributes, and variables? We'll see that also. And finally, obviously, we'll go for the Q&A session. Now, see, what is a flow basically? If you remember, we have flow is a combination of error handling, source, and process, right? We have three components. Now, source means we'll have inbound endpoint. Most of the time we are using listener. I am just taking HTTP listener only here. Okay. Only listener will come here. No, there are so many endpoints. There is a scheduler. There is a on file new upload. There are different kind of endpoints which can come into the source part also. Whenever required, I'll explain those. But for now, HTTP listener is a inbound endpoint which comes in the source part. Please remember that exactly. Now we have some processors, obviously. For example, like 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And I have another flow within the same project. I'm telling about the same project exactly. Error handling, source, and process. Obviously, we know this. Here also we have some HTTP listener, and we have some blocks of what can these blocks do? They process the event, Mule event, exactly. Now it comes like this, and this, and obviously the response, as you know. Now my question is exactly, I want to access this flow from this flow. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible with the help of flow reference component, exactly. Now this component is flow reference. I want to call, right? And with the help of this flow reference component, what I will do exactly, I will specify the name of this flow. Automatically, it will call this flow. Okay, fine. Now, my question is, they're in the same project, right? I already told you they're in the same project. They can be in the same configuration file or in the different configuration file. In same config file or different config files. What does it mean? I already told you what is the project structure. Project, multiple config files, under each config file we can have multiple flows. For example, what I will do, we have a project, we have two config files exactly. One name is one config file, other one is two config. This has three flows. This has two flows. Okay, is this possible? Yes, possible, right? Actually, if you remember, we have done that, right? If you remember, in the params project itself, we have one params config file and we have created two flows exactly. Now what I will do, I will create another configuration file. Okay, how to create a configuration file? Right click on here or here, no problem, you can do that. New Mule configuration file, and it will ask for the name. I see, actually names will be given for configuration files or projects or with some specified standard rules exactly. It depends on the company where you're working or for which client you're working basically. Okay, based on that we'll decide the names and all. Okay, after going inside the project, I'll give you the some tips and techniques how normally companies follow basically. You can use the same kind of naming standards exactly, but for now we are using random names. For example, like I'm telling some params 1. Okay, params 1. Now there is another project, see another configuration file which is created. Now this can also have flows, right? Actually, okay, I'm just renaming this flow. Other config file flow. Just for reference, I'm writing like that. Okay, and listener and all, I'll be using the same thing. Okay, path is other. I'm giving other, actually other as a path. Okay, now if you see, it's I'll explain you all these things, but just keep in mind. Okay, now see, I explain the same thing right now. If you see here, one project, I have one first config file, and it has around I took it as randomly 3 flows. Actually, it has 2 flows right now. Okay, and second config file, we have one flow. Sorry, one flow. Now, with the help of actually with the help of one flow, with the help of flow reference, exactly, flow reference. It is in the same project, right? I have a flow, first flow from config file. From this first flow, I can call this flow also. Or from second flow, I can call this flow also. Or from this flow, I can call these flows also. That is possible with the help of flow reference. What I mean to say here, actually, we can access the flows within the project. The scope of flow reference is we will have all the flows from the same project, exactly. But we cannot access flows from different projects. I'll show you that also when showing the example in the AnyPoint Studio. Now you got it right. See here. There is an instance where we'll be using the flow reference to call the flows from the same project. That's what exactly I mean to say. But okay, now I called, for example, like this is flow 1 and this is flow 2. I called flow 2 from flow 1. Now what happens immediately? Already I sent the request to HTTP request listener, and it passed the message to event to the first processor here, and then flow reference came in. From flow reference, it will go to flow 2. Okay, my question here is whether it goes to the source part or it comes to the processor part. Exactly, that is my question exactly here. Okay, any guesses? Any guesses? See here, from flow reference it came to flow 2. My question is whether it will go to the source part or it comes to the process part. If you remember exactly, already I have told you what is the job of this HTTP listener or the source endpoint exactly. Whatever we are using in the source part, what is the job of it? It will convert the incoming request actually to the mule event structure, if you remember exactly. But here, if you see, already it is in the mule event structure only. What is the purpose of going here? It's not required. Directly it will come to the process part and the process will start. Now it will come to the first processor and then come to the second process, third processor, and then it will go back to flow reference. Okay, it passed the same mule event. What is at this point of time? That same mule event is passed to the second flow, and that mule event has undergone some process logic in the second flow, and again the same, obviously event will be not same event. Whatever the processed event will be shared to the flow reference exactly, and then from here automatically it will proceed for the further processing, and then the response will be sent to the consumer. Okay, got it right? Any doubt till now? I'll just recap. This is important exactly. I'll recap this particular point again. I'll take another slide. Okay, just I told you. This is very, very important. Please, that's the reason I am again doing it. Source, process, exactly. A listener. And here we'll get some process. And this is flow 1, F1, and we'll think of flow F2 here. Source, process, error handling. Okay, maybe listener again, and this is flow reference component. Okay, generally this is the process, right? This is the process. This flow reference will call and it will come here. It will go here and then it will pass on to here, and then again there is another process. We'll do some process here and then we'll send the response. This is request and this is response. Got it right? See, I'll tell it from the first. We are sending the request. It will come to the source listener endpoint of the source exactly, and then it will convert that HTTP. Normally we are passing HTTP request, right? And that HTTP request is converted into Mule event. It is sent to the first processor of that flow one, and then immediately we have a flow reference. And which flow we have called? We have called the flow of F2 flow. Sorry, F2 flow, and then it comes to the process part and the first processor in the process part, and then some processing is done here, and again there is a second processor, some processing is done here, and then we will send the same event, not the same event, processed event to the flow reference. Now this processed event will take care of the rest of the process from here. It will go through the process and then response is sent back to the consumer. Consumer is nothing but who consumes your API basically. Who consumes your API is known as consumer. Exactly. No, this is the what is the importance of flow reference exactly. Now we can, there are different types of things exactly. How do we call? This is called as calling flow because it is calling flow 2. Okay, this is called as referenced flow, or this is called as parent flow. This is called as child flow. Okay, if there is a terminology, calling flow means from here you are calling another flow. That's what calling flow. Referenced flow means the called flow. Actually, whatever you have referenced, right, that is known as reference flow. But these two are less used basically. These are the most important things which normally happens exactly. Now see here, the flow from where you are calling, that is known as parent flow, and the flow which you call is known as child flow. Now I have another flow. For example, I am calling from flow 2. I am calling F3 from flow 2. Okay. Okay. Now what happens? This is parent flow for F3. This is child flow. Okay. See as only this context. Parent flow, child flow. Okay. Whatever from wherever we are calling, that flow is known as parent flow, and the flow which is called is known as child flow. Okay, remember this concept exactly. Sometimes people will be calling as calling flow and reference flow also. Don't get confused, the same only basically. Okay, got it right? Now this is the importance of flow reference component. Why? Actually, see, you should get one doubt exactly over here. Why we need different flows and why there is a need for calling that flow reference exactly. Obviously what happens, the business requirement, there is a big business requirement. Now what happens exactly, there you will be writing a big logic exact. If you see, like for example, like you are writing a flow which is very big. Simply like you kept one source point and entire process you are writing in the same process part. Actually there are 100 blocks, for example, think as 100 processes. Now what happens in the studio, you know exactly, if I put 100 process, for example, like I just drag and drop exactly. I'm not doing anything, any logic here basically, but I just want to show you why we go for. There are two reasons exactly. I'll just show you one reason first and the second reason also. Then we'll understand like why we are going exactly. I'm just dragging and dropping. I'm not doing anything. Think of 100 actually. For any simple logic also, actually, like if you see in the real-time world, at least you will be having so many process. If it is a small flow, that's fine basically. Now, if you see here, sometimes you will be getting choice condition also, and again you have to go somewhere here, and again what are all these choice conditions, what are all these different process and all, we'll see in the now. See here, if you see in this window, you can see only some 3 to some 10 process. Other than this, those 10 processes we are not able to see. You have to drag and go like this, and we have to see. Okay, the complexity is increasing and the flow is becoming bigger. See, for example, like now I have only 15 to 20. I'm sliding it to the right side. I'm saying, think of 100 exactly. What happens? It becomes too linear. Okay, and you have to, for seeing also, it will be very difficult. We have to do like this. Instead of that, what I will do, I will take some, for example, like some 15 to some 35, 20 process. I can separate that logic in a separate flow. What happens? I can use flow reference here, and that flow will come into the bottom here, and obviously automatically what happens? Exactly, this will become a smaller flow. Only one component is added for that 25 to 30 blocks, and that logic can be seen in the other part. Exactly, that's what. Now what I'm doing, these three, for example, like take as some 20 process, this process I'm separating it, okay, and I'm putting it here in another flow, and I'm using flow reference here, and I'm calling this flow. Now what happens, that whenever there are two instances when we go for separate flows. Exactly, first is too big, the flow is becoming too big, we'll break the logic and keep it in a separate flow. This is the first scenario. And second scenario, reusability. I'll tell you what is this reusability exactly. When when do you use reuse any particular flow exactly? Now, for example, like we'll take one example. I'll take another slide. Okay, I'll take another slide here. We'll see. Okay, flow one, source, error handling, process. Any flow will consist of source, process, and error handling. Already we know that. Okay, now there is a flow two. I'm telling about same project. There is another two flows exactly. This is flow 3. Normally what happens, this kind of requirement comes very frequently in the real-time world. Exactly, that's the reason I'm just showing, and we are spending some time here. If it is theory also, that's fine. Source, process. Now this is flow 4. and we have some process also. Obviously, we'll be having sources if required. If required, not required, sources also will not be there. That's fine. Now, if you see, flow 2 is required 2 times in our project exactly. Okay, this logic is required 2 times. Where in flow 1, and even flow 4 also requires this flow 2. See, in the same project, we are using flow 2 times. What I have done, for example, like I have written the same logic in flow 1. What happens? I have to write again the same logic in flow 4 also. Instead of that, if I put that logic in a separate flow, okay, I can just call with the help of flow reference in flow 1 as well as flow 4 also. This is called reusability. When do we go for different flows? Actually, whenever there is a reusability, or whenever it is becoming too big or too linear. Linear means it's going on in the right side exactly. Okay, linear. To break the complexity, we are just going for different flows exactly. But we will not go for different flows without any meaning exactly. We will take some meaningful logic and then we'll separate that exactly. Okay, this is the theoretical part of it. Now we'll do the same whatever we have discussed till now. We will see the same in the AnyPoint Studio. I'll go here now. See, I'll go to the project first. I'm closing it. Okay, right click. How to close it? Right click, close project. How to open it? Select the project, right click, open, or double click it. Double click. Already the expand button has come. Expand. Click on the expand button and then go to SRC main mule, and this is the one which we have developed for URI params and query params exactly. Now, right here, if you see, there are 2 flows exactly. Okay, the same way we'll create another project. Actually, we'll create 2 flows, and then we'll see how this flow reference can be utilized and how we can call and all, and then we'll see the scope of those variables also exactly what happens, a scope of those like mule event, like attributes, payload, and variable, what happens and all exactly. Okay, now close this project, file, new mule project. We're discussing flow types, right? Flow types. I'm giving the name as flow types actually, and then click on finish. Okay, as soon as I created a project, I already told you with the same name, one configuration XML file will be generated, and it consists of no flows. Now we have to create a flow under this. Okay, now there is no listener configuration because we haven't configured anything under global elements. Now I'll create one listener. Okay, click on OK. I'm just giving path as flow. Now I will drag and drop some components here. Okay, fine. Set payload, set variable. Till now we haven't seen the variable, right? Actually, we are going to see that also today, basically. Okay. Now I will use a flow reference. Oops. Just give me a moment. I just wanted to show one more thing also. What I have done now, actually, say I just clicked on this particular flow. I just wanted to copy this entire flow. Control C, click on the white space and Control V. If you do that, a separate copy has been generated exactly. Okay, and I'm changing the name as otherwise parent flow and child flow. We'll do that because we are going to see only two flows exactly here, parent flow and this as child flow. Okay, fine. Now this listener is set. I'm going to literal mode. I'm just entering some hard-coded values and I am keeping the same name actually because it will be easy for reference. Okay. I'm giving the name for variable. Okay. And I'm giving the value for that parent flow variable. I'm assigning the value for that variable. Okay. Till now, we haven't seen creating variables, right? I'm just creating variable with the help of set variable component. How to set payload? We have a component called set payload. The same way, if you want to create variables, we have a component called set variable. With the help of that set variable, what is the configuration we have to see? We have to give the display name. Display name is nothing but this name exactly. Okay. And now see. As soon as you see, display name is changed, parent flow. Now, how to configure it? Click on it and then first give the name parent variable and give the value as parent flow variable. Just for reference, I'm giving this variable exactly, these values exactly. Okay. Now, if I click on this exactly, I just told you with the help of flow reference component, I can call the flows from the same project exactly, right? Now I should go to the flow reference, double click on it and go to the configuration and then see the flow name. If you see, there are two names exactly. How many flows are there in your entire project right now at this point of time? We have only one configuration XML file and we have two flows exactly. And we can see child flow as well as parent flow. But I want to call child flow. I'm selecting that. What does it mean exactly? If you see here under flow reference, you can call parent flow also from the same flow. But that is not a best practice. We never do that exactly. Okay. From here also again you can call the same flow, but that is a very bad practice. We should not do that. Automatically the performance will get down. That's the reason we never do in the real time exactly. We will call the other flows. We will not call the same flow, but there is an option you can call the same flow also. But here if you see child flow, I selected child flow. It means that I'm telling the flow reference component to call the child flow, this particular flow. Right? You got it? Any doubt here? But you can call the same flow also. Don't get confused, but we will not use that at any point of time. Now what I have done, I have created another configuration file for simply showing you exactly. And I just created another flow here and I'm using same listener configuration which is already created under flow types exactly. I've given the path as sample. If you go to flow reference now, and if I click on drop down, can you see parent flow, child flow, and test flow also? Why is that? I told you under one project, if you have 100 flows also, all those flows will be accessible from flow reference. You got the point, right? People are following me, right? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Now, see here. From this flow reference, I can call any flow within the project exactly. That's the scope of flow reference exactly. Okay, now, for now, we are calling this child flow only. Okay, now I'll come to the child flow and set the payload and set the variables, and then I'll remove this. This is not required, right? And what happens, we'll see. Have you finished setting up the configuration here? Yes. This is parent flow variable. Okay. Now I'll put a logger in the end. See what happens. We should drag and drop inside the flow. Then only new flow will not be generated. Exactly. Okay. Now I'm just changing it to payload. Here flow reference. I'm giving it as calling child flow. Write this name. What happens if you see here? You can clearly see I'm calling child flow. Otherwise, you should click on this configuration and then click on that component and see the configuration. Then only you can see that which flow you are calling exactly. If I write calling child flow, automatically now with the name itself you see, okay, I'm calling this child flow directly. Okay, right. Now this payload. I'm coming to this particular part right now. Child flow payload control. I'm giving the same name exactly. Okay. Don't think it is mandatory exactly. No, it's not mandatory. It can be this display name can be different from value. Exact. Please remember that. Okay. The same way. Child flow variable. Control A, Control C. I'm assigning the same value child flow variable. Okay. And here child variable. I'm giving name. See, if you observe, I gave name without any spaces exactly. But in the display name and value, I have given. But in the name, I have given without spaces. It is a best practice to follow camel case. Camel case means first letter of the word will be small letters. And again, whenever there is a second word starting exactly, that particular word will be started with a capital letter exactly. See, child is a separate word, variable is a separate word. Now for child we have used first letter, right? We used small c, and for variable we used a capital. Okay, this is known as camel case. Camel case will be utilized for naming the variables and variables. Yeah, most of the time variables exactly inside the flow. Okay, camel case is used here also. Here also I have used camel case for name. How to call those variables and all I'll show now. Actually, how to extract the mule attributes from mule event. I have used like attributes dot query params or URI params. The same way we have one keyword called vars exactly. We'll use that vars keyword and extract that. That we'll see. Now I'll run the project. Sorry, not running the project. Actually, I just wanted to show you the debug exactly. Debug. I stopped it and I debugged it, and I will add the breakpoint here. The background process is happening, and now the project will be deployed. Once it is deployed, we'll see the testing. In the meantime, what is the configuration we have given? Flow. I'll go to Postman. I haven't opened Postman. It is deployed actually. No, it's failed, I think. Deployed. But I am deployed, but I'm getting an error. I'll see what is that error exactly. Okay. I already told you path should be unique, right? Actually, this path and this path are same. That's the reason it is showing some issue. Now I made the changes and I saved it. Okay. If you see here, started app. I already told you whenever there is this build automatically, project build automatically is enabled, we'll see the changes will be reflected in the project automatically. Okay, it is already done basically right now. Now I'll go to Postman, and what is the listener path? Flow. And what is the listener configuration? 8081. I'm writing a fresh request. Actually, why I'm writing a fresh request every time? Exactly to get used to the process. HTTP localhost http://localhost:8081 port number /path flow. Okay, this is the thing which I have given in the listener. Now I send the request. See here, it stopped at the breakpoint, right? Now at this point of time, I already told you payload, we are not sending any body in the Postman request. That is the reason it's empty. And variables, any variables? Zero variables, no variables. And if whether there is any attributes, obviously there are some attributes of the sent request. Okay, right? Now what is the shortcut for next processor? F6, or I can click on this particular icon. Go to Mule debugger, click on this icon. Next. Now see, payload is set. We have used set payload, and what is the payload we have set? Parent flow payload. That is already given. Whether variables are generated? No, it is still zero only. Attributes are there. Next processor. Now see here. How many variables are there? One variable, because we created a variable called parent variable, right? That variable is created now. Exactly. See here. Parent variable. Now, see, this flow reference has come here right now. How it happens, we'll see. As I told you, it didn't go to the listener part, the source part. It came to the process part. Why actually? Because already event is available. Okay. There is no need of conversion of that event exactly. That's the reason it traveled or it propagated to the process part. Okay. And now we will see what is the attributes. The same attributes which are available in the parent flow, the same are propagated. Okay, right. Now, what is the payload? Parent flow payload. The same payload before this flow reference, whatever payload is available, that same payload has been propagated to the child flow. Now, whether the variables are propagated, yes, parent flow variable also propagated to the child flow. It means that through flow reference, the entire mule event is passed to the child flow, the referenced flow or the child flow. Now we'll see further what happens. Now, if you see the payload, till now what is the payload? Parent flow payload. Now, but now what happened? That payload is overwritten with the help of set payload, which is available in the child flow. I'll go to debugger. See here. Click on payload. Child flow payload. Now, till now, what was the payload? Parent flow payload. It is overwritten with the help of set payload in the child flow. Child flow payload is there. And now we have another component called set variable in the child flow also. What happens, we'll see. If you see, there are two variables. Means it kept the parent variable as it is and it created a new variable, child flow variable. Okay, right. Next. Where did it come back? It traveled from flow reference to child flow set payload, child flow, logger, and then again it went to the next processor in the main flow or the parent flow basically. Now check for attributes. We haven't changed any attributes exactly. Whatever attributes we passed in the first set payload, the same attributes are available because we haven't changed anything here or here. Exactly same are available. Okay. Now payload. Here it is parent flow payload and parent flow variable. It is passed through child flow, but here we change the payload and we have added one more variable exactly. And now the same mule event has come to the parent flow. Okay, it traveled back to the parent flow. Now what happens if you check out, payload is overwritten and variables, the same parent flow is available as well as the child variables also available. It is accessible in the parent flow also. See here, parent flow, child variable after calling the flow only, not before calling the flow. Okay, this variable is available after calling the flow. Okay, now if you see, two variables are there. Payload is overwritten with the help of the child flow, that is new payload is available. Attributes same attributes because we haven't changed it now. Now my question is, which payload will go to the response section right now? What is the latest payload? Latest payload is child flow payload. The same child flow payload will be written as the response. See, child flow payload. This is the concept of flow reference and parent flow and child flow exactly. Now we will be tomorrow, in the tomorrow session we'll be discussing about what is a private flow, subflow, main flow, all those concepts in the tomorrow session because it is already 8:45. See, I should have taken these three things in this session itself, but what happens is exactly these are very, very important concepts. That's the reason I just wanted to, for every project you will be using this particular concept multiple times. That's the reason I am taking it for more time. Okay, please focus here and learn the same. Any questions?